did.
No, they set the bar high, bro. I mean,
It's true. You know, it's funny when you see, if you ever saw The Dirt on Netflix, which is tough. It's tough to watch. It really is. I mean, it's rough. But you know, they had the Doc, what's his name, that also managed Kiss, and he talked about Motley Crue, and he says I've worked with a lot of bands in my life, Kiss, and he went down the list, and he goes, but nobody touched Motley Crue. What these guys did, they were so out of control.
It's quite the doc. The Dirt is actually, I mean, yeah. If you want to know what Over the Top is, and if you haven't watched that, Netflix.
It's tough to watch.
It's entertaining.
It is entertaining. There's no question about it. But man, it's so crazy. I think I listened to The Dirt. I've listened to a few different Crue things, just audiobooks, and it's just. And seriously, yeah, they go into detail on some of this stuff beyond the movie.
Sure.
And you just go, I can't even imagine just the way these guys
life,
live. That they're alive still.
Yeah. Shit. I mean.
Anyway, it's.
Keith Richards is still walking.
Keith Richards is still walking the earth.
Right?
Which is amazing to think about.
Yeah,
so.
no,
yeah, he must.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, let's get started. But before we do, just want to do a shout out. The company that makes all this possible, that kind of supports this and makes all this gear. And we're sitting here in the Thick and Mystic studio and in St. George, Utah.
Should I do the subliminal? Audio mover.
What's that?
Audio mover.
Audio mover. If you ever have audio videotapes that need to be converted to digital, it's audiomover.com, audiomover.com. And Audio Mover's been in business for a couple decades doing this stuff. So if you have old audio videotapes, audiomover.com is where to get your project started. And with that, Steve over here is going to get us started. Oh, okay. So looks like he found one.
Oh.
He pulled it out because we were already talking about it. Okay, and it has an interesting thing here, because this is not one of their albums. This is actually a picture disc. You were talking a minute ago about red vinyl. This one came with a poster, and I don't know where the poster is. I think it's rolled up in a tube somewhere in storage. And the poster was the craziest looking thing. Nikki Sixx had his bass strings in his teeth, and of course they have blood all over him, as I recall, and it was just crazy. These guys were, especially Nikki Sixx, was the master. You get back to the whole marketing thing. This guy knew exactly. It was like, we're going to scare all the parents. We want all the parents to hate us everywhere. Because if the more the parents hate us, the more the kids are going to love us.
Rebellious, right?
Yeah.
And
he
rebellion.
Knew it. Well, what's interesting about these guys, so this was a picture disc with the song Helter Skelter, which was the old Beatles tune.
Right.
And they put this on the album Shout at the Devil.
Shout at the Devil.
Now, Shout at the Devil, if you look at the back of the album, it actually says, warning, this album may contain backwards messages. They put that on there. Not the PMRC or whatever they were called, the Parents Resource, blah, blah, blah.
Forgot about that.
But and it's so funny because you listen to Nikki Sixx. Nikki Sixx, what I didn't know at the time is that he was the brains behind the band. He wrote all the songs. He became the heroin addict, over the top, but he was the guy. He was the dude that did all he wrote the songs. He was the brains behind everything that they did. And part of the reason, if you listen to his story and you listen to him talk about this, part of the reason some of those albums started sucking is because he became a heroin addict. And he was having a hard time just doing anything at all. But where I was going with this is when the PMRC, parental something, but they were the ones that started putting the warning labels on the albums. They put warning labels on their album before that was even required because they knew it would sell records. Yeah. And so I saw an interview with Nikki Sixx once where he said, "Wait a minute. You mean you guys are going to start putting warning labels on our albums?"
Awesome.
Thank you. He's like, yeah. To them it was like a badge. And it's funny because every time these groups get involved and try to, they end up backfiring on themselves because all they're doing is bringing attention to these bands, and they end up selling more records because as a teenager, as a kid, that's like inviting. I want the edgy album.
Right. I think I can't remember where people want what they can't have, right? Mm-hmm. It's just an old saying that, you say I can't have it, I can't listen to that, guess what I'm doing next?
Suddenly I got to have it.
I got to have it.
Yeah. So this is pretty awesome because you don't see, these picture discs were kind of they were a novelty thing. Most of the time they actually didn't sound very good. At least my experience with them was that they sounded kind of awful. But they would embed these photos. So I mean, this will play like a regular record. But this was not the full-length Shout at the Devil album. This was it just had the song Helter Skelter, and as I recall, it had a couple of live tracks of some other songs. So that's them on the front, and then you flip it over, and then, I mean, these guys, talk about image. I mean, just look at this.
They were, a decade after Kiss, right?
Yeah.
Your blonde front man, Nikki Sixx being the patriot that he is. Little sarcasm, but they're a different take on the whole metal, hair metal type of look. Do you remember? I remember the first time I seen. Do you remember the first time you heard or seen Motley Crue?
I do. I remember I was in somebody's backyard playing football. I remember hearing the song Live Wire.
It's a great song.
It was like that was it. The guitar sounded super unusual. It was kind of a different sound, and it was so mean and just intense. It was and they produced that album themselves. That was what got them the record contract, was that first album. And they made their own album label. It was called Leather Records, and they spelled it funny, like Leathur or something like that, or Lethur or something.
Or maybe they couldn't spell.
But these guys were hard workers, and they put out that album. So yes, I remember you were going somewhere with that. I remember exactly what was going on.
I remember watching. For me, it was like my folks got some sort of like cable thing, and I remember we had HBO and something, and I remember distinctly watching, like, they had U2 live at Red Rocks, blah blah, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But they had this like recording of the US Festival.
Oh yeah.
Right, 1983 or something. Like, this is old,
Yep.
but it was like I'd seen something that said, and so I'm watching. They had like Scorpions and all these bands, and I'm like,
Scorpions,
hearing about
Van Halen, Judas Priest, Quiet
Van
Riot.
Halen got paid like $1 million to like headline it or whatever, and I seen Motley Crue on the thing, and I'm like, these guys are totally different, totally.
And they were all dressed up with these
all
crazy,
dressed up and playing their thing, and I'm like, Kiss-esque, I'm like, okay, that could be cool. And then I remember, friend had a tape, and I'm like, what are you listening to? And he had his headphones, plugged into his Walkman.
Yeah.
And gym class with our super short shorts, and probably too graphic than we wanted to believe in back then in the 70s or early 80s. And the plan and the track that I ended up playing, or it was Too Young to Fall in Love.
Oh my gosh, I loved
that opening line or the opening riff
and the
or whatever.
Video.
Yeah, dude, pretty
that
awesome.
Part where Tommy Lee takes that thing off the table and eats it and throws it back. I mean, and then at the very end of it, they're doing that whole, I love that song. Is one of my all-time favorite Crue songs.
So then I'm like, hey, can I borrow that? Listen to that, and Shout at the Devil, that first opening chords that he played. Dude, it's menacing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Again, it's the imagery that you're thinking, oh my gosh. But yeah, picture discs. Again, totally cool novelty. Motley Crue over the top.
And then, of course, this is the thing that was inside with it. You've got this, the refrigerator with the blood hands all over it. And then you've got the lyrics to Helter Skelter here. And then the other side. So this is what was on here. The Helter Skelter, and then the song Red Hot, which was on Shout at the Devil.
Yep.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yes, it was. It was on Shout at the Devil. Live Wire. This was a weird version of it because, oh, wait a second. Yeah, check it out. They even have the leather written right there. So that's right. They took these two songs off of
the original
album
and put them on this
and
picture
put them
disc.
on here. But the original, because the original album of the first album was not the one that ended up being picked up by the record company and re-released, because they remastered, remixed everything. So these were the original mixes
Gotcha.
of the original songs. And so, anyway.
I mean, isn't it crazy that we know all this? I mean,
it's ridiculous.
You know, here it is years later. And, you know, for those of you watching, hopefully, the two of you that are watching, hopefully more than that, you know, find this stuff
Darren
interesting, right? Yeah,
I
Darren
don't think
and
they'd
Matt,
even make
thanks
it this
for
far
watching.
into it. Yeah. It'd be like,
They
click.
know- they know
That's
this.
enough. I know.
They're
We've
like,
heard
they
enough
know
of this
these
stuff.
guys.
But yeah, it was so, you know, and back then, once again, everybody knew Motley Crue was. You know, you'd hear of them. Once again, you get into this thing where we were less fragmented, and you would have heard of these guys, most likely.
More than likely.
And this album, the album Shout the Devil, was what really was their breakthrough album. It was funny because
Dream Theater, when, I mean, come on.
it had one big hit on it.
Home Sweet Home.
Home Sweet Home was a huge hit. And then they did Smoke in the Boys Room. That wasn't even their song. You know, that was a
cover.
A cover from way early, and I don't think anything else in the album was any good. I don't think so. And then Girls, Girls, Girls came out.
Yeah,
Same thing.
Too poppy.
Wild Side, Girls, Girls, Girls were the two songs on that one that were, and I don't think the rest of it had anything.
I mean, I'm not saying I don't like Motley Crue, you know, by any means, but I'm saying, yeah, you know, Dr. Feelgood
But then Dr. Feelgood
was
came
awesome.
Out. That, oh my gosh.
I mean,
the Kickstart My Heart.
Kickstart My Heart. Dr. Feelgood, that first.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kickstart My Heart still was one of my favorite all-time songs ever. I have some special stories behind that song, but I love that tune. What's that?
Whoa.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. You should. Vince Neil. I mean, he looked so cool. You know, at the time, this blonde dude.
Yeah.
You know, and he had this great image. I loved Vince Neil. Was so awesome.
Don't Google him now.
But that's the thing. He started getting. I mean, he's like legitimately. Overweight.
Don't put a number on it.
But what's so funny now is it's not just the overweight part. Go watch him like do some of these songs live, and there's some where they'll do subtitles, and it's like he's singing gibberish. I mean, it's the funniest stuff because he doesn't even say words anymore.
Dude, growing.
I mean, it's
growing
hilarious,
old, right? I mean, the thing is like, do we understand half of what Mick Jagger's saying? Fuck no. I mean, no. It's just the way it is. You know?
Yeah.
Oh, we just say that he's British and, you know.
Yep.
You know, whatever he's saying.
By the way,
Get away.
did you ever listen to 6 a.m., the band?
Yes. Heavy.
That is way better than Motley Crue ever was. I hate to say that because I love Motley Crue. But that stuff, the 6 a.m. stuff is so... I saw him live.
Ooh.
And it was...
Good.
It was over the top excellence.
You know,
it was amazing.
The one, I mean, we're talking Vince Neil here, Motley Crue, and you know the one album they didn't have Vince Neil. They had Mark Corabi.
Corabi,
dude.
Is it Mark or David? I can't think his name.
I don't know.
Guy had a brutal voice. Guy was so good.
So good. Yeah. I love that one. That was a great album, I thought.
Yeah.
Well, that was a good one.
Like forgotten. So, all right, cool.
Good choice.
Let's hand this back over to Steve. I gotta go find that poster now.
The picture disc.
Yeah, the picture disc. And it was interesting because one of the things that they did with albums is they'd make these. They called it a 12-inch single. So even though that one was this picture disc, it wasn't unique in that sense. They had these 12-inch singles where people, because you had the little 45s, those little singles, the little small things, would play at 45, and then they'd make the 12-inch versions of those. So they'd have more than
one song per
one
side.
Or two songs, one per side. So they would end up having like that one where you had several. Okay, this is hysterical.
Okay.
This one that I have this
Working Class Dog.
So what's funny about this album is this album has one of the most iconic songs like of all time. And it's funny, I played in a band called the Three Pigs. Look it up on YouTube. Although I don't have this song on that in the recordings, but we used to play all kinds of just crazy, silly stuff. And for no good reason, this was back in 92, 93, we were talking about silly, stupid old tunes we could resurrect and have fun with. And one of us threw out, how about we do Jesse's Girl.
Yeah, dude, that song still gets plenty of airplay.
And it was so funny. We busted it out, and it was crazy. The first time we went out and played the thing, dance floor.
Nuts.
You go, what the heck? What is going on here? What's wrong with these people? Yeah. And Jesse is a friend. And it was funny because I used to listen to it when I was a kid.
Sure.
And so I loved the tune. So did everybody on the planet. And and this is the album that it was on, Working Class Dog.
Right.
And he was, of course, like this sex symbol,
Man
super
crush.
handsome dude. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And actually, he was good. He was a good
Hospital.
songwriter. And that's the thing. He'd been in a soap opera. He was an actor.
Yeah. No, it's no.
Although I don't.
You know, this track is the one on this album.
Oh yeah, you know who wrote that?
Sammy Hagar,
Sammy
baby.
Hagar. I forgot that was on
Red
this
Rocker.
album. Sammy Hagar wrote that song. I've done everything for you. Yeah. I've done everything for you. You've done nothing for me.
Right.
That was a great tune. Yeah, Sammy Hagar, and he would play that live when you see Sammy Hagar. And he wrote it for Rick Springfield, and I forgot about that. That was
because I'm like, wait a minute, I've heard this song before, you know. But Sammy Hagar connection.
I don't know any of the other tunes.
The other
on here.
dude. If you can ride the coattails of Jesse's Girl for the rest of
your
life.
Long, although he did have on his next album, and I think I've got it too. He did have another.
Yeah, some like
one
slower,
or two more
like
hits.
a ballady type.
He had a couple more hits, and he played. I think he played at one of those big festivals, like Live Aid or something, and he was actually really legitimately good.
Yeah,
and
he's
actually
a great artist.
I was a fan of the guy. It was one of those things where you didn't really want to be a fan because he was a pretty boy actor.
You're gonna man crush all over.
But he was good. I mean, he wrote some good tunes. I didn't have the same kind of man crush on him that I would have had with others, but he was a legitimately talented singer. And I don't, you know what? Now that I'm wondering, I wonder if he wrote these tunes himself. Because I don't know the answer to that question, and I should know something like that.
I mean, that's a great thing is that you're looking that up. I mean, in today's world,
1980.
Yeah, I mean, in today's world, what's that? 40-year-old album, right?
Crazy.
In today's world, who cares who writes the song? You know what I mean? Like, where do you find the linear notes of who's writing, or, is Ariana Grande? I mean, we know Taylor Swift writes all her own stuff. Does Ariana Grande write all her own stuff? Miley Cyrus.
You know what? And it's cool when they do.
Yeah, when they do. I mean,
like
sure.
Like the Beatles, they were one of those first groups that came in, and it was it's not true. When they first started, they were doing all covers, but as soon as they meet the Beatles, it was just them.
Yeah, all their own stuff.
I think they had a couple of things over the years that they did, but for the most part, once they hit that, they were they were kind of pioneers in that way, because even the Stones didn't do that. The Stones had to be kicked into start writing your own music, and then they
did the same kind of thing back in those days. We're playing covers,
but then. Right. But they were some of the early people to really just create this library of their own tunes. And Beatles, talk about a library, and Stones too. I mean,
sure.
A friend of mine once, Ron, we actually were one day sitting and we started kind of listing off how many hits did the Stones have, and we just, for no stupid reason, why the heck do you do stuff like this? Started writing down. Next thing we know, we had like 60 songs, and we were just off the just
right.
thinking. It was crazy how many tunes we were listing that had radio play.
Think about that again, coming back and connecting it to today's standards. If you had 60 hits, or the Beatles, or like Elvis, 50 number ones or something crazy. Mm-hmm. Like if Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift, I mean, one of these contemporary artists had 50 number ones. What would they be like? I mean, you would dominate the airwaves.
Everything.
I mean, Justin Bieber have 50 number ones, And
I like Justin Bieber. I do. He's actually great, but but not that.
No, just One Direction. That was the band that was trying to think
One Direction.
Right, about people putting together. Again,
the fabricated band.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody had 50 number ones or even 25 number ones, dude, you'd be crushing it.
Yeah. Beyond crushing it.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
But I'm happy to say Rick Springfield, except for the Sammy Hagar song, wrote all this stuff. So that's cool. There's a great deal of respect that comes with that. You're not just a pretty boy that they handed a guitar to and said, I think we can make some money off of this guy.
Maybe a pretty boy that could act.
They could act.
Gets on General Hospital. That probably didn't hurt him or his fame.
Yeah, that's right. And that came prior, I think, to all this stuff.
You know, that's somebody
acting.
that knows more than us can chime in. Linear notes, put in your comments, right? If you know your Rick Springfield background, and you know who came first, Working Class Dog or General Hospital.
He did have one great tune that was really funny. I don't know if you remember this, but he had a song called
Human Touch.
No,
is that
Human Touch? No, that was. I mean, he had this. I think a song called Human Touch, right?
That's what
but
I'm thinking.
Not. No, I'm talking about. He had a song called "They Call Me Bruce." She called me Bruce, or something like that, and it was about all the times people had called him Bruce, thinking he was Bruce Springsteen, Rick Springfield, Bruce Springsteen. He had a song called "She Called Me Bruce" or "They Called Me Bruce" or something, and it's all these things where people mistook him for Bruce Springsteen because Bruce Springsteen was, the god, songwriter, massive, whatever, and then here's Rick Springfield.
They're not even close.
No, not even anything. But people that don't really know, they'd hear the name and they think, it's Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen, Rick Springfield. I guess I can get it.
But anyway, he had a song about that at some point in his career, which is pretty funny. I'll have to go look that up now. I remember where that happened.
All right.
So
Working Class Dog.
Working Class Dog, Rick Springfield. All right, so was that 2?
That's 2.
Okay, one more.
All right, one more.
3 random records. We're gonna do one more.
All right.
Yeah, well, you guys
Our
were
third random,
Beatles.
semi-random.
So figure this is a good tie-in.
Oh, there is a connection here between these guys and the Beatles.
Aerosmith.
Although it's
and
not
Beatle
on this album.
tie-in.
It's on that album.
Is it on this album? Wait a minute. Are you serious? I don't see it on here.
Isn't it Sweet Emotion?
Oh no, that's the one you're thinking of. The one that they did that's the Beatles tune was "Come Together,"
That's right.
and they did it on. It was an album.
Rocks or something?
No. It was on Sergeant. So there was a movie made called Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. They had a bunch of people come in and do Beatles covers, and it was Peter Frampton played. I don't know if he was the Sgt. Pepper character or what he was, but it was Peter Frampton starred in it. But Aerosmith did a copy of "Come Together." So
It's really good.
So the next generation became introduced to "Come Together" from these guys, and frankly, all respect to Aerosmith, who I love, I hated their version of "Come Together." It's interesting to listen to other people's interpretations of it, but that original "Come Together," you don't beat it. It was too good.
That is actually a song that I've heard multiple covers to "Come Together" from the Beatles.
Hey, come on, flat. It's great.
I mean,
it's a great tune.
It's a great tune.
But this is a
great album.
classic Aerosmith, can't touch it album. This has got to be among, if not their best album.
I would agree. Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic.
Yeah,
Hard to touch.
All the tracks were great.
Again, we think about the era, right? You put the needle down, track 1, you go all the way through, and everything through, you can read them off.
So Toys in the Attic, that was the one where it started with, and that was a great tune. Toys in the Attic. And then the other one that was a couple tracks in that everybody's heard, that got resurrected in the 80s also. Well, not also. They resurrected one from the Beatles, but this song got resurrected later, "Walk This Way." That's
Sure.
the one where this is not the Run DMC version.
No,
this is the original version of "Walk This Way." And that guitar tone is so, at the beginning of that tune, is so, that Joe Perry has. It's one of the greatest guitar licks ever made.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's cool. Matter of fact, when they redid it with Run DMC, it wasn't even as cool. It was there was something he captured in this recording that was so great. Joe Perry's such a great guitar player, And this is actually an interesting band because they, other than a very short period of time, they lost I know they lost Joe Perry, and I think they lost the other guitarist too.
Yeah, Joe Perry Project,
and
or whatever.
They went and made the Joe Perry Project. That's right,
dude. How do we know? That's the kind of stuff.
So,
you don't talk about this kind of stuff to anybody really. But where did I just pull that out of? Like, I'm thinking to myself, what what the hell? Like,
So he went
seriously.
to- yeah, I know.
I'm
I know.
just
It's
saying.
ridiculous. That's why we're doing this, because you got to get it out of your system.
Got to
every
get
once
it
in a
out.
while.
I don't even know why. I can't remember.
So Joe Perry went and did the Joe Perry Project, and when he left the band, they did an album called "Rockin' a Hard Place," and it was Jimmy Crespo on guitar that came in and played on that album instead of Joe Perry.
Joe Perry.
So then, years later, they put the band back together, Aerosmith, and put out an album called "Done with Mirrors."
Right.
And the first song on that album was a song called "Let the Music Do the Talking," which was originally a Joe Perry Project song. So when they put the band back together,
I'm going to bring this one to the
Done
table.
with Mirrors, they brought an old Joe Perry Project tune and just killed it. It's so good.
You know, one of the things about Aerosmith that I like up until just recently, I think, is these bands that have been together, the same pretty much core line.
And that's what I was saying. They other than that one brief period, it's the same guys.
You know, they're the same guys. I mean, they grew up together, do whatever. I mean, all this history together. I mean, that's something to be said. I mean, for people like that. I think they got something going on with their drummer now, or, you know, some.
Well, when you get to this age, you do start having people falling off by the wayside.
Yeah, I mean,
but for the core of their existence, it was just it was those guys. They had that short break. I mean, these guys were total druggies, so they did fall apart there. Joe Perry was among, they had some major problems, but then they got back together with Done with Mirrors, and then they just started killing it, hit after hit.
Was it Aerosmith Pump?
Yeah, Pump was huge. I mean, well, it's right before that they had Permanent Vacation, which had
That's true too.
couple of big hits. So they had Done with Mirrors. They got back together. Done with Mirrors. They had Permanent Vacation. They had Pump, and Pump just shot them.
Yeah, Janie's Got a Gun.
Yeah,
all that
they
kind
just
of
went
stuff.
over the top.
Loving
with
an
that.
Elevator. Is that from one of those?
That was and I think that was Pump. My favorite of their albums of all time, though, frankly, is the one I just said a second ago, and now I've forgotten what I just said.
Permanent
was
Vacation?
The Permanent Vacation. I absolutely love that album. It's so great. It's so fantastic. It's like everything about it I love.
That's
but
crazy.
this one also had a great tune that we haven't talked about. Two really interesting songs. Sweet Emotion, which might be their best song. And it's rap too. The way he does it, standing in the front, just shaking. I mean, just the way he does it is so.
I mean,
good.
how many frontmen have Joe Perry? I mean, that's why he's the judge of like American Idol or some.
Steven Tyler, the front man.
Yeah.
Steven Tyler, you can't beat him. Yes, he's the one that was doing that for a while.
Yeah,
and he's got a great personality. He started out as a drummer.
Cool cat, right?
He is as cool as you get. Great. The guy is a great front man, singer. Everything about him is cool.
Right.
He's awesome.
For the younger audience, maybe listening, the two people, that's Liv Tyler's, dad.
That he found out later that he was her father once she was grown.
Whoops.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but the other song on here that's kind of funny is this one right here. And it's called Big 10-Inch Record. And it's a funny tune because
Glad it said record.
because that's the joke. When you listen to the song, you should go listen to the song and you'll hear the joke, because he's like, "Da-da, she got all excited when I whipped out my big 10-inch record of the band to sing the blues, the band," and it's this play on obviously.
Words.
It's silly, stupid, childish, adolescent, stupid crap that we loved when we were kids. I mean, today I think it's ridiculously stupid, but at the time I was like, dude, that's so funny, and everybody talked about it and we thought it was great. And then now it's like, well, it's dumb, but it's still.
It's the imagery, right, that you're creating with the words, and I think that's one of the things that him as a lyricist artist is, puts that out there in a way. Like you said, almost rapping at the time.
Oh yeah, and
I mean, it's a style that, you don't see cover bands doing a lot of Aerosmith because it's so freaking hard and it's so unique. And I think that's one of the things that you kind of see. Like, okay, you got bands that play certain things, but you can't emulate Steven Tyler. It's just or sing like him, or you can come close, maybe.
He is one of those iconic rock frontmen, and he had a little bit of the Mick Jagger look.
Sure.
The mouth and the thing.
Yeah.
And the other person that had that was I can't think of his name, is a singer for the New York Dolls. They all had that kind of that persona.
Stephen
That guy's
Johansson?
name? Johansson.
Again,
Johansson.
where do I
yeah.
pull this
And
out of?
you know what he did in the 80s? His alter ego. That was
some hot or something like
he did
that.
the song "Hot, Hot, Hot." Now I can't think of what his Poindexter something.
Dexter Point. Oh,
Poindexter. Yeah. Anyway,
Buster Poindexter. Again, somebody help us.
Like
we remember all these crazy things, but don't ask us the facts.
He had that same look. He had that same look.
Details. We might miss the details.
So
did we say we're north of 50?
We
half
did.
the crap that we
just
don't
let's
remember.
take a look inside and see if there's anything interesting here. Now, this typical Columbia Records.
Pretty
thing.
generic.
Yeah, there wasn't anything too interesting about this, but yeah,
good
once again,
stuff.
one of the greatest albums, one of their best albums, and just classic. I mean, you can't beat Sweet Emotion, you can't beat Walk This Way. It's just two of the great rock tunes of all time.
If you think you put on any quote unquote classic rock station,
you're gonna hear those.
You're gonna hear those.
Yeah.
I mean, that just tells you the timelessness of something.
Yeah, and this came out. What was it? Late 70s? Not even late. 75.
That's crazy.
75.
How old is that?
This came out before Destroyer.
So different. Great. Again, Destroyer, Kiss reference.
Wow.
46-year-old. And you listen to Sweet Emotion today, right? That's what we're talking about.
Oh,
and
it
you're thinking,
sounds,
awesome. Like,
you
there's
put
nothing
that in
else
some
out
great
there.
speakers, headphones, and you'll just be blown away how fantastic.
No, it's good stuff. I mean, that's why we're covering, doing some of this is to share kind of the place, the things what Aerosmith kind of triggers for us. I mean, music does that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was awesome. All right, man. That was
good.
Fun.
Pretty fun.
Crazy stuff.
We'll do another 3 here soon, right?
Yeah. Anyway, this was a blast. Anytime I get to talk about records, it's a good day. So anyway,
well, I don't know if my head's hurting because of the memory jogging. It's all these things that are going. Actually, it doesn't hurt. I'm just saying that.
It's awesome.
Being a little sarcastic.
So anyway, just shout out one more time to Audio Mover, audiomover.com. It's where you send your old audio and videotapes and convert them to digital.
For the two people that are watching again, hi Darren, hi Matt. If you guys are watching. If you have albums you want to...
Oh, that's actually a good point.
Give us suggestion. Have, stuff that maybe you want us to look and see if it jogs any memory.
See if we have it in the collection. If we don't, I'll order it. I mean, we'll go find it somewhere.
I have 6 in the garage.
I have a couple thousand of them sitting in the front. So
I'm just saying.
I've got 6 Styx albums.
Styx albums. That's
in
where I
the
was
bathroom. Under the Anyway, that's.
No, why would they be there?
I don't know.
I don't put
books in there. You may as well put other reading material, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm just saying.
Okay, that's sad. Anyway, if any other suggestions that we could talk about, that would be fun.
Yeah, or even topics. I mean, we're doing the 3 random records. We can do different eras. I mean, because that's the thing is like we picked out some stuff that's 70s, 80s. If there's an era of albums you want us to kind of pick out, that'd be a good suggestion, maybe.
Yeah, sure. All kinds of twists on this.
Yeah, no, it's good. Someone out there may be smarter than us who might want to put something out. Wait, this is good. I'm not saying that we're not smart. We're just cool like that.
It's exactly right. All right, man.
Full of crap.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, everybody.